Good evening. Thank you so much for joining tonight. This is Better Love Movement, and I am Anita Stoudemire. Most of the people who come here on my live stream, they kind of know me, they know my platform, they know what I'm about. But I said to myself, let me start introducing myself in case there are new people here, people who are new to me, new to my platform, don't know what I'm about, don't know who I am. So that's who I am. I want to start off tonight's live stream by letting you know that there has been some sort of technical difficulty. I can't quite figure it out. I just got home from vacation. I was in Florida for the last week and just came home maybe an hour and a half ago. I came up here to my studio. I got set up and turned on my computer the way I always do. And I noticed that my computer had been, how do I want to say this? Reconfigured. Like things on my computer don't look the way they did when I left it. So I'm not sure if one of my kids used my computer. I'm not sure what happened. But every time I went to download a clip that I wanted to share, it said that it could not share it, it was converted into some sort of code that my browser did not recognize. So all of the clips that I've downloaded, I cannot show any of them by, pulling them up through StreamYard because of some sort of problem with my computer. So I'm going to talk to my kids once this stream is over, figure out if anyone has been in my office, if anyone has used my computer, what has changed. Because I haven't been here in a week and I left my computer as is. I want to say I actually left all my equipment. Let me turn this on. I left all my equipment up because I had a live last Sunday. So I actually left it after last Sunday's stream. I clicked off, I shut my computer down, and I left everything exactly as is. So I'm not really sure what happened. But I need to take my computer to Best Buy tomorrow and try to figure out what has happened to my computer. I don't know if somehow a virus got in it. Someone here recently, about 2 months ago, someone had hacked into my Google account and they purchased a $1,400 cell phone off of Google Store. They then put some sort of malware or software on my computer where they could see where I was going and what I was doing. So now I'm extremely paranoid about things like that. So I'm not sure what's going on, but the display on my computer is different. I can't push on anything and it just come up like I don't know what's going on. So what we're going to try to do tonight, because we are truly struggle streaming. I am normally struggle streaming on a regular night because I am not the most super technical savvy person. But tonight we are struggle streaming. Okay. So all of these video clips are on my iCloud. And what I'm going to do is I am going to share them from my iCloud. Now, the bad news is they won't be as big. But you hopefully will be able to hear the audio. And I'm not going to make this stream very long because I'm beyond frustrated by this whole thing. So I just need to take my computer to Best Buy tomorrow. But I just want to say good evening. Time to believe in yourself says, because women put themselves on a pedestal above children, which will bite women in the behind at 60. So was that the answer to the question, why don't we prioritize the safety and needs of children anymore? Yeah, that's the answer. Tonight's conversation is about transgender kids. So yet another subset of the way that we do not prioritize the safety and needs of children anymore. And if you don't know this, I'm going to share this with you. So who I am is someone who is a staunch advocate for children. That is the thing that fires me up. That is the thing that gets me going. That is the thing that's the hill I will die on, kill on, and all of the things all day, every day. That is my thing. That is what I was put here to advocate for, is children. There are other people out there in the world that they are animal advocates. Some people are women advocates, men advocates. What else? Black advocates, Hispanic advocates. Like, you got people out, trans advocates, gay advocates. You got your advocacy out here, right? You got lots of things that people feel passionate about. Some people feel passionate about the environment. Okay. And that's a beautiful thing. I always tell people, hey, whatever your thing is, if that's your passion, if that's the thing that you feel like you were put here on earth to advocate for and to try to make it right, hey, do you. I think we need all kinds. We need all kinds of people to do all kinds of things. But Anita, you know what gets Anita going? Is when you start messing with kids. That's when I am not going to be so nice. That's the one time that if I'm being honest, that's the one time where I have to really be mindful of my devout Christian faith, because I get so righteously angry when I think about children being hurt. I just can't help it. And I know it's something I have to pray about. I have to give it to God. When I do these shows, I pray before the show. I pray after the show. I ask God to just lift all of the anger and hate off of me, because I really feel a way about adults right now. I really feel some kind of way about adult people and the chaos that they bring to children's lives. I think it is an abomination. I do. And I think there should be special punishment for people who hurt children. I think that's a whole nother level. I think that's a whole nother level of, we need to punish people when they hurt children. I really do. So, God knew what he was doing in his infinite wisdom. That's why he didn't make me an attorney. That's why he didn't make me a judge, because he already knew. He was like, if Anita's sitting on that bench and somebody come before her and they've hurt a child, they getting the book thrown at them. They getting put under the jail, because I have zero tolerance for people who hurt children. All right. Good evening, user 116QW. Hello. Good evening, Stefan Moultrie. Oh, heck to the no. Yeah, I got some issues tonight. Good evening. Good evening, Night Call 411. He said hello and good evening, Miss Anita in chat. Thank you so much for joining. October, good evening. All hope everyone had a good weekend. He says, I do agree with you, but that would be a normal, natural behavior for women, because you're supposed to be taught, shown, demonstrated how to put a child first, which you don't really see that in the minority household these days. I believe that it's a natural instinct, but these people today, they know not, anything natural. They know no God, no nothing. I think it's a natural instinct to want to protect a child. But these people today, man, they built different. Dang, you beat me to the hello first, okay? All right. She said, what do I win? I agree, the guillotine needs to come back. Yeah, if you hurt a child, and look, this is how crazy I am. The younger the child, the worse the punishment. I mean, you ain't gonna see the light of day if you mess with anybody under 18. But if you do something to a baby, if you do something to a toddler, we're gonna skin you alive. like we're gonna skin you alive. We're gonna burn you at the stake. Like, I can't even think of all the things that we should do to you if you harm a baby, an innocent baby, a toddler, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, 5-year-old. Like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Oh, Lord, y'all. I know. Jesus, just take the hate out of my heart. Like I said, I know I need help, because, God keep reminding me, Anita, now stop that now. Good evening, High Vibe. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Good evening, Wrong Way 1965. Thank you so much. He said, if you have to be taught to put your children first, you shouldn't have children. Yeah, I don't think it's something that you have to be taught. I think it's natural. It's an instinct. It's an instinct that a person should have. Nobody taught me that. I've been watching people's children since I was 9 years old. I worked in the baby ministry when I was 9 years old at church on Sundays and at Wednesday night meetings. And nobody taught me that I must be careful. The children are precious. I had to be extremely careful. I couldn't look away. I couldn't take my hand. Nobody taught me that. That was just a natural instinct in me when we're talking about a human little life. So I'm not, yeah, I don't know. Okay. He said, question, when you think of a child, are you referring to physical, mental, and emotional? Because adults today could be called a child mentally and emotionally. No, I'm talking about anyone under 18. I'm not talking about adults. I don't care what your mentality is, if you under 18. Yes, Anita, skin them alive and pour rubbing alcohol, lemon juice, and ammonia on them. Lord, I thought that was bad. Yeah, because I just can't, I can't take it. Some people forfeit their right to participate in society and should face that judgment. I agree with you. I agree. And we used to operate like that hundreds of years ago, right? There were people who couldn't even be in normal society because if you want to act a fool like that, you got to go. You got to go. And the fact that we're tolerating and these cases where they let these violent criminals, they let them out over and over. That's unacceptable. That this man has a violent criminal past and he's been let out of jail 15 times. Yeah, that's problematic. That's problematic. Your children equals your legacy. If you don't care about your legacy, you won't care about your children. I agree. So I don't understand it, y'all. This is the thing that it does. It fires me up. I get angry. I get so righteously angry over this because children are innocent. They represent the hope for the future. And the fact that, number one, so many people right now don't even want to have children. Number two, they see children as a burden. They see children as unwanted and a burden. And, oh, this is going to cramp my style. Oh, this is going to make it so that I can't do X, Y, Z. It's really, really gotten bad. But we've been given a command. This is what I keep telling people when they say, oh, I'm not having kids. I'm like, okay, because I'm not fighting people no more that don't want to have kids. Because y'all crazy. Okay, so people who say, hey, Anita, I'm not having kids. I'm not fighting those people anymore. But I want you to understand this was a command given to us by God. So when you have this anti-natalist, oh, we shouldn't have no more people. We shouldn't procreate. This was a command given to us by God. So that's what we're going up against. And we're willing, by not having any more children, by not propagating the species, we're basically saying we're just going to die out. This is a suicide mission. Okay, there will be no more legacy. There will be no more people coming behind us after a certain generation, and we'll just die out. And I'm not willing to accept that. But to the people who say, no, I'm not having any kids, I'm not fighting them anymore because those people probably shouldn't have kids. Children are the innocence of the world. That's why feminists want to extinguish babies. Yeah, it's sick. It's sick what we see going on right now. And it's nothing but the devil, and that's what God reminds me every day that I pray. He said, Anita, every bad thing that is happening in this world is nothing but the devil. And he is ramping it up. Good evening, Rhonda Payne. Thank you for joining. He's just ramping it up because I ain't got much time. I got to just destroy as many people as I can. I got to take as many people out and destroy as many people as I can, because I ain't got much time. So, all right. So I'm going to share my screen with y'all. And we're going to see how this goes because me and the sharing of the screen I don't know why, but it like to act up. Okay, let's see. And I'm going to go to my, also share audio. I'm going to go to my iCloud. That's where all the videos are. We're going to start with this one right here. This is a tragic case. Where is it? The gentleman right here. We're going to go to this one. This is a tragic case right here. All right. Hopefully it'll let me play it, y'all. Because I'm telling y'all, I'm having all kind of, hold on a second.
You're a boy, right?
No, I'm a girl.
Who told you you were a girl?
Mommy.
When did she tell you you were a girl?
Because I love girls.
Oh, I see. So mommy told you you were a girl?
Uh-huh.
The state of California says that I have to pay for the chemical and physical castration of my son as child support. I'm not going to pay that child support. I'm not going to pay anything to hurt my son.
And that means you'll be going to prison?
California is going to send me to prison for that.
So, Jeff, you are going through something. You've been going through something that is probably a father's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Tell me when this started.
Started when my son was about 2 years old. My ex-wife, who's a pediatrician in Capel, Texas, started thinking that he might be a girl and started trying to transition him to a girl. And when I tried to put a stop to that, she filed for divorce and used her relationships with care providers to force me out of my house. And so I moved about a mile up the road from my sons. She filed for divorce formally, and I had 50-50 custody of him. And just after his third birthday, you know, I took the first iPhone video I'd ever taken, and it was him telling me that he thought he was a girl because his mommy tells him a girl. You can go on YouTube and just search for "mommy says I'm a girl." You'll find that video. She was telling him things like, you know, she would put him into timeout and say, "Don't be a boy. The monsters only eat boys," and weird things like this. And she began to then socially transition him, and that led to a titanic battle in the state of Texas that culminated in me getting the procedures outlawed in Texas, and the political establishment in Texas allowing her to come to California so she could still castrate him even though I got it outlawed.
Okay, so this gentleman, and it's my understanding, let me just check this real quick. Because it's my understanding that this gentleman had a lot to do with them banning transitioning of children. This gentleman had a lot to do with it. Like this guy, he was going to die on that hill, that he was not going to allow his son to be transitioned. But this wife, this ex-wife, she wound up leaving the state they lived in and took the boy to California, the most liberal state for this. All right, so I looked up some information, and I should have done this sooner. In the United States, around 25 states enforce bans or strict legal restrictions that prohibit healthcare providers from supplying minors with gender-affirming medical care like puberty blockers, hormone therapy, or surgical procedures. These are the states with restrictions or bans: Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Tennessee, Texas, and roughly 20 other states, primarily across the South and Midwest. There are penalties. Many of these states impose legal or professional discipline, and several classify providing these medical transitions to minors as a felony offense for doctors. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's ban in United States versus Skermetti, ruling that such state-level restrictions do not violate the U.S. Constitution. But there are bans in about half the states in the U.S. for this gender-affirming care, that's what they're calling it, for minors. And so I guess my question to you all is what is too young? What is too young to transition a child? Think about that. What is too young, in your opinion, to transition a child? That's the question. That's what I want to know. I'm going to show you another video here. What is, y'all, I'm having all kinds of problems. What is too young? That's what I want to know. Okay, it's just acting up. Let's see if it'll play.
I was the first parent to file a lawsuit in the state of Colorado for a secret gender transition of my child. May of 2021, we send our daughter off to 6th grade. She's just turned 12. One day her art teacher asked her to stay after school for an art club in the art room. And when she got there, it was actually GSA, or Gender and Sexuality Awareness Club, concepts that I wouldn't have consented to as a parent, that harmed her trust in her parents. I mean, they heavily emphasize, you don't have to tell your parents might not support you. If they don't affirm you, they don't love you, but we love you.
I'm gonna start a GSA. And maybe a GSA isn't the right term to use right now. I hate to say it, but maybe shifting that to affinity group. Have fun with those. They have resources that help you go through some of those processes of creating those groups, but also how to create more gender inclusive schools as well.
The teacher had brought in these outside presenters, an organization called Splash for kids 12 and up and Skittles for kids 2 to 11 to talk about gender and sex. On their website has 40 different names that you could potentially call it. Friends of Dorothy is one of them. Like all these really inconspicuous names that can be easily concealed to parents. And I actually found slide presentations from what they do in these GSAs. And the number one rule is what you hear in here, keep in here. So right off the bat, they tell these kids, don't tell anyone what happens in this room.
Do not out your students to their parents. We live in a heterosexist environment.
This one was designed by transgender individuals. So that's why this one is really, if you're going to use one when you have conversations, this is the one you should be using.
About 6 months after the club meeting, she left us a suicide note because she did not know how to live in the body that God gave her.
Man, this is beyond sad. But I need you all to understand. I remember when my oldest daughter, she was a junior in high school, and they had this group that was staying, this social, they called it a social group after school, right? They had a social group after school for kids with intellectual disabilities. And I remember, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but she was, going to these groups like once or twice a week after school, and I would pick her up. And then one particular time I picked her up, she did start talking about like some of the things that they talked about in the group. And she was saying, I might want to date a girl. She said something to that effect. I might want to date a girl. I might want to go out on dates, or I might want to date a girl. And I was like, okay, really? Where are you getting this from? So I'm not freaking out. I'm just saying, yeah, what's this all about? And, she's talking, and I'm saying, letting her know, hey, we're not doing this. I don't know where this is coming from, because it kind of came out of left field. And I said, are you getting this from this group? Like, what's happening? And I remember that following week, I went into the group, and it was a male teacher who was in charge of the group. And I was very direct. I was like, what do y'all discuss in the group? What is being talked about? Are you talking about issues pertaining to sexuality and, et cetera, et cetera? Like, I was very direct. And I know it made him uncomfortable, but I was like, I was told that this was a social group for kids with, intellectual disabilities, autistic kids, ADHD kids, et cetera. And I really hope for your sake that that's not what you're talking about. Right. And so I kind of, all but shut all of that down, but I didn't have my daughter go for a couple of weeks because I need y'all to understand these types of things are happening. They are talking about this in school. They're talking about it after school. It's kind of this big secret. And you need to be aware of that. If you have children that are still school age or know people who have children that are still school age, yeah, that's, just be mindful, that this is what is happening. This is what is going on. They are targeting children.
Critical time to be there is grades 5 through 8 because you want to catch kids when they're starting puberty, because that's the time in which identity formation is central to their lives. However, early intervention is key. So we actually are designing a kindergarten through grade 2 curriculum this summer. And I will tell you, one of the most rewarding experiences, Nikki, we were in a local school system in an elementary school, and we were in grades 3, 4, and 5. And after we were there, 5 students went to the principal's office and came out. So we are really intentionally going into younger and younger grades.
One thing, these people aren't trying to hide, guys. They're telling you exactly what they're up to. They are letting you in on their agenda.
Okay. Kindergarten. You going into kindergarten through the 2nd grade? I wish you would. Like I said, God has a plan. He has a plan, y'all. Because I can tell you right now that if this was happening and my children were in elementary, middle, or high school, like, I would be the big bad wolf. I would be the worst person. I would be on a wanted sign somewhere. Let you try to pull this crap on my watch. Kindergarten to 1st grade, that's what you're doing? When we're supposed to be learning and you're out here trying to put stuff in kids' head that don't have nothing to do with their education, nothing to do with why they're there. And I think we need to crack down on the teachers, coming into the class and putting all this stuff up and putting up the LGBTQ flag and putting up the other. No. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to indoctrinate people's children. That's a problem. So just like I, as a heterosexual woman, I'm not putting up stuff, about my sex life with my husband. I'm not putting up, stuff about, who I sleep with. I'm not doing that. Why are we seeing gay people do this? Why are we seeing trans people do this? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. How Bob says she would homeschool. The academic foundations of schools are lowering by the day, and this is replacing it. Correct. She said, I would homeschool, full stop. Man, like I said, I would make these people's lives a living hell. Well, it does make sense that if you start indoctrination at a younger age, the more likely they'll accept and conform with little to no resistance or pushback. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. It is absolutely insane. They need normal children because they aren't having kids themselves. Uh-oh. Did you just say that? That's interesting. So we're not able to make babies ourselves. So we got to turn y'all straight people's kids. We got to turn them. Can we say that? Oh my gosh, it does make sense. They want victims. Misery loves company. But the question is, what is the long game with this conformity? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know, y'all. I'm just as clueless as y'all. Where is this going?
Hi, good morning. My name is Beth Bourne. I'm here to really address Supervisor Sheila Allen and thank her for all she's doing in Davis and Yolo County. I really want to thank her for promoting more mastectomies for minors. She's doing this in so many ways. Yesterday, I saw her at the Trans Pride flag raising ceremony at Davis City Hall. On Memorial Day, she spent her morning painting the rainbow crosswalks around downtown Davis, including the park in Central Davis. But I really want to thank her for everything she's doing with Elevate YOLO. Right now, here in Yolo County, any child over 12 can receive a free breast binder. These are garments that are given to girls so they can have the appearance of being a boy or a man. And soon after, the discomfort from wearing this breast binder that's free for girls over 12, you can see this flyer. It's in the Davis schools, discreetly delivered to your home or for pickup. Many of these girls are choosing to have a double mastectomy. It's only $100 with your Kaiser insurance. It's pretty simple surgery. But Yolo County, Elevate Yolo is also offering free breast binders to boys 12 years and up. Sheila, I don't know if you've ever seen a breast binder or a penis tucking kit, but you're a nurse. Let me explain to you how they work. These are delivered free to kids over 12, probably boys, because they want to hide their penis and testicles. But they just take this little kit out here, and it's got some adhesive, so they can take their penis and scrotum, and they can tuck it under, right? It says right there, free tuck kits for kids over 12. A.B. Hernandez was wearing one at the track meet on Saturday when he won 2 girls' championships. You know, a lot of these boys are choosing to also wear this over their penis tuck kit. It gives you the appearance of a woman's vagina. I just think it's so wonderful what you're doing for children in our county. Thank you, Sheila Allen.
What, I don't even know where to start. I do not know where to start with this. When I tell you all, evil has no bounds. Evil has no bounds. That this is what we're doing. This is what we are discussing at the school board meeting. We are, of all the problems that we have in this world, of all the things we need to address in the city, in the county, in this entire world, and this woman, this is what she chooses to talk about at the school board meeting. Lord, Dr. L, good evening. He says, speak on this psychosis. Where is this coming from? It's madness. So okay. Let's bring up, there we go. So there is a clinical definition for this. And sadly, it is no longer in the DSM. It is gender dysphoria. In my humble opinion, it needs to be in the DSM. It is a psychosis. It is a mental illness. It has always been prior to the DSM-5. So this is insane, but gender dysphoria is the deep emotional distress a person feels when their internal gender identity does not match the sex they were assigned at birth. This mismatch can involve discomfort with one's own body, primary or secondary sex characteristics, or expected social gender roles. A strong desire to be of another gender, a strong dislike of one's own sexual anatomy or physical traits, a strong wish to be treated and accepted as a different gender, lasting emotional distress that interferes with daily life, school, or work. Symptoms must persist for at least 6 months to meet the formal diagnostic criteria. Okay. Common approaches to this is counseling, therapy to explore identity, building coping skills, and easing distress. Social transition, which is they want you to do chemical transition and surgical transition, but they're also saying social transition, changing names, pronouns, clothing, or haircuts to match one's gender identity. Medical transition, using hormone therapy or surgical options when appropriate and desired. But this, for the longest time, was a clinical diagnosis. Okay, this is not, and it's interesting. I'm going to play another video where the gentleman was saying, when we're thinking about any other diagnosis, we don't change to fit like the mental illness. But with this, we do. It's really weird. He says, my guest thinking out loud, remove villainized men, destroy the reason for man, reprogram women to replace man, and said woman would follow the rules of the system government. What the heck did I just hear? Yes. And this is at the school board meeting. Single parent households, how can they homeschool? Exactly. You're exactly right. They can't. They can't. See? So trust when I tell you, they do have an agenda. They do have an agenda because they know that a lot of these single parent households, they can't do that. Wait, so what's the difference between gender dysphoria and body dysmorphia? So body dysmorphia is related to things like people who have a plastic surgery addiction, people who have anorexia. So that's not related to gender. That's just related to the way your body looks. So like Michael Jackson, right? He always saw the color of his skin, the size of his nose, his features, you know, oh, it's so huge, it's so ugly, I look so ugly. So for him, it wasn't necessarily about gender. It was just what he saw looked hideous to him, and to everybody else, he looked beautiful, you know, and we just didn't get it. We thought brown skin Michael was adorable. We thought Off the Wall was adorable. You know, I love that Michael. And then that's when he started doing the surgeries and doing the skin stuff and all of that. And then, you know, we know how bad it got before he died. So that is the difference. So it's not necessarily related to gender. Well, bless her, but she's outstanding versus the norm. Oh my gosh, I was thinking more of the social contagion phenomena. Yeah, it's now here's the thing for you to know. I'm gonna read to you some statistics. Right now it says overall 1.8% of youth identify as transgender. The almost 2% prevalence rate is more than double the previously available estimate of 0.7%. The prior estimate was based on the patterns of transgender identity amongst adults. However, it was noted that the 0.7 estimation would be inaccurate if younger cohorts identify as transgender at a sharply higher rate than 18 to 24-year-olds. But I believe exactly what you're saying, that it is some sort of social contagion. We are seeing it. I'm going to play a video about some of the stuff we see amongst the celebrities. You know, we're seeing a big uptick in celebrities who have transgender kids. And that's definitely some sort of weird contagion. Oh, Lord. Yeah, somebody is out to get me, y'all. They don't want me to.
Complete list of the amount of celebrities in America that have transgender children. And I was a bit taken aback. I was a bit gagged because it's actually so long. This is just a short list. It's much longer, but let me read some. Megan Fox allegedly has 3 trans kids, which we're going to get into that and unpack that. Dwayne Wade, Charlize Theron, Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Gardner, Cynthia Nixon, Ben Affleck, Jamie Lee Curtis, Cher, Naomi Watts, Robert De Niro. And that's really just the A-list. And there's an insane amount more. When you start getting into like B-list, C-list, reality stars, you can't even list them. It's too many. Quick disclaimer though, I am not here to attack any minors, underage people who are trans and happen to be children of these celebrities we're talking about. I'm really trying to focus on only the ones that are minors because this is actually the more precarious situation. I don't care about, you know, people who are adults and do what they want to do. Obviously, why would I? Hello. For example, you know what I mean? Because I am a fair person. You think of like Cher's son, Chaz Bono, who was really like the first famous trans person, a trans man who came out decades ago. It was only a net negative for him to do so. It's not like there was a lot of trans people out public. That's clearly an example of like a legitimate trans person, an adult who's doing what they want to do. When it comes to these kids that are being used as props for activism, however, when it comes to these kids who are being thrown out as public figures and trans, that is where things get really dicey, where things get really dark. So that's what I'm trying to focus on today. If any of these minors have social media, do not go harass them. Do not go say anything. That's disgusting. Yeah. So Megan Fox, to start off with, so demented. It's written about, as you can see, that she has 3 trans kids, 3 sons that are all trans. And these are all 3 biological boys, but I don't believe she uses the word trans for these kids. So that's important to note. But as you're going to see in a second, she does use trans kid books to parent them. So it's a little bit of a gray area. What is most concerning to me, though, is the odds of having 3 boys that all want to wear girls' clothing out in public. You know, like, what is that? Because that is not organic. There's clearly a source for this abnormality in all three of her male children. And let's just listen to how she handles it.
Noah started wearing dresses when Noah was about 2. And
so where did Noah get the dresses from? Did you just hear that? Where did Noah get the dresses from? If she has 3 boys, I really want y'all to critically think, because this is how I think. When I'm listening to people, I am critically thinking about what they're saying. So in my mind, I'm saying, okay, you're a woman, you're married to their dad, you all have 3 children, and they're all male. Where is Noah getting the dresses from? How would a 2-year-old get a hold of a dress that's his size and put it on? And the truth of the matter, this is something that mom is doing. You see what I mean? So the 2-year-old, did he go into Megan Fox's? Did he go into her closet and pulled out one of her, dresses that fit her? And he put it on himself at 2 years old? I don't know about you all. I've raised 3 children. My children couldn't dress themselves at 2 years old. Much less would they go into my closet and pull out one of my dresses and put it on themselves. No, the truth of the matter is this woman bought dresses and put them on her son. That's what she did. Okay? You're not fooling anybody. You bought dresses and put them on your son, or y'all were out somewhere. Oh, isn't this cute? Try this on. That's what happened. Because you're not going to sit here and convince me that a child that young a boy that young wants to put on dresses. And where would he get it from? Yeah, where would he get it? In your opinion, is there more support from women or men in regards to gender dysphoria? If so, why do you think there's so much support from women? Well, women, as we all know, they suffer from suicidal empathy. So they have this empathy on steroids that says, every idea that comes across the desk is a great idea that I should support because, that's what being, loving and nurturing is about. That's what a great idea. I should support this. Are we sure Megan isn't trans? I mean, she's a biological woman. She's a biological woman. So she said Megan is sus her himself. I seen an Adam's apple. She's a biological woman. So, but 3 boys and all of them are trans, or all of them want to wear girls' clothes? Come on. Come on, stop. We're just, what are we doing?
This channel, we've talked a lot about this concept of trans housing by proxy, and we see it with looking at non-famous, just like regular, usually white, always liberal women who, use their kids as props to sort of make themselves seem like this more accepting, esteemed part of the community. It gives the parents purpose. They're suddenly becoming activists themselves.
2 of my children are receiving gender affirming care. My son has always been the happiest child I've ever known. Since he was a toddler, we called him Sunshine for his infectious joy.
And they sort of weaponize the identity of their child, or let's say it's not really their concrete identity, the struggles of their child that they're having with gender. I think it's just disturbing to put kids out there like that and to attach your own, work and television appearances and public advocacy to your child. It's a fine line. You should be supportive of your child, but this goes beyond, in a lot of these cases, just publicly saying yeah, this is my kid and I support them. You're, injecting politics into it. You're going to activist events. You're going to parades. You're going and making it a thing. But
okay, so again, there is this syndrome that white liberal mothers, they tend to suffer from. And it's basically kind of like what's the name of it where, you know, you feign that your kid is sick so you can get attention? You know, what is the name of it? You make your kid sick, and then your kid gets all this attention, and by default, like, you get to be the savior. You get all this attention from your child being sick. The woman who gave her child something, and Munchausen, there we go. And the child, she told everybody the child had cancer, but she was like making her child sick. These women are crazy. Like, do y'all, I mean, I'm saying that, but do y'all realize that these women are crazy? Like, this Lindsay Clancy trial should show y'all how crazy these women are. There is no limit to what they will do to get attention. There's no limit. But they use trans very much the same way. Trans is being used the same way. Like, oh, we need to, you know, get our kids' attention. You know, we need attention. And we now have something to advocate for. We have something to believe in. And, you know, if all our kids are trans, now I got a bunch of meetings to go to, and I get to march, and I get to go to Pride, and it's like, yeah, now I'm somebody. It's crazy. These women are not well.
An 11-year-old trans girl.
My daughter Edie first came out to us as trans when she was 6 years old.
The 6th grader is about to have a tiny medical device implanted in his left arm.
Cut this up.
Jack's dad and mom are at his side.
Oh, jeez, I'm really terrified.
It's just your head. Jack, relax.
Meredith's going to put some more numbing to make sure that it's all numb, okay?
The implant stops female puberty and will keep Jack from growing breasts.
Why are trans kids becoming more common? In my last video outlining why Gen Z is so gay, I literally was talking about gay, like the LGB. Now, when it comes to the TQ plus side of things, especially regarding Gen Z and Gen Alpha, that's a whole nother story. In this video, we're going to watch and react to trans kids, and what you'll quickly find is that they all have something in common that will explain probably why it's on the rise. And before we dive into this video, I have to point out that I did make a Patreon, and for right now, the next 30 days, it is up for $1 a month. So be sure to join. You get all my content early. There's a lot of benefits to it. There's already a ton of you all in there. I'm so thankful for the support over there. So be sure to join the Patreon. $1 a month, lock in while you can to the OG fam. We just jump right into it. What you'll find is that a lot of it has to do with the parents. Like, a lot of it is this attention-seeking parents that are pushing this trans ideology on their children. And it's sad. It honestly is sad, because it's like, just let your child be a child. Like, it's okay. If your child likes doing a little girly things here and there, then whatever. If the child likes doing guy things, it's fine. They're literally erasing what it means to be like a tomboy or a tomgirl. But even then, why are you imposing that your child's trans that early on? That makes no sense to me. Nor do I think it's okay, or that it should be right, or hell, even legal to transition your child in that way. Much like another video I did talking about child drag queens, when you're transitioning your child, you're leading them down a path that ultimately goes to irreversible change.
An 11-year-old trans girl made history on Saturday as the youngest ever Grand Marshal of the Orlando Pride Parade.
See, I don't think children should be at Pride. I really don't. I don't think children should be at Pride festivals, because 9 times out of 10, it's very inappropriate, very sexualized, and it's just not a place for children to be.
Of October, Dempsey Jara rode in a convertible through the city center for Orlando's Come Out with Pride Festival. She told reporters she would continue standing tall, despite the recent wave of anti-LGBTQ plus laws in Florida.
And see, that annoys me too, when they're like the anti-LGBTQ plus laws. No, sweetie, they're anti-TQ plus. Not even anti-TQ plus. Really, it just goes down to allowing kids to be kids, because when you're 18 and up, you can do whatever you want. So if we're going to destruct this whole anti-LGBTQ movement, it has nothing to do with the LGB, the lesbians, the gays, and the bis, has nothing to do with them. The TQ plus, it does have to do with them, but it has to do with them minors. Because when you're an adult, you do whatever you want.
Posting to Instagram, she said, "Yesterday was the best day of my life. It's not easy to be a constant target of hate, but I remain visible because I want other trans kids to know there is such joy in being your authentic self." Dempsey told reporters at the event, "It's about being true to myself. It's about embracing who I am, even when the world tries to tell me otherwise."
And let these kids be kids. Get that kid off of social media and just let the kid just go outside and have fun. But instead, you got this kid on social media having a whole page, being a grand marshal at a pride parade because they're a trans star, as if a kid's ever gonna like just leave all that. You know, like, you know how impressionable kids are, and that's why we protect them. That's why we don't say that they can give consent to certain things. Like, a child can't smoke, they can't drink, they can't vote, they can't get a tattoo. It's all these things children can't do, but they can't consent to sex because they're minors. And we know that they are not able to make mature decisions like this. And transitioning is one that is very serious.
Y'all, so let me say this. That is Amir Odom. I watch his channel pretty regular. Okay? And clearly, Amir is gay. And you know things have to be real bad when the gays start rejecting the foolishness, things are bad. And he's not the only one. There are several gay content creators. There are several lesbian content creators. There are several male gay. They're sick of the TQ+. They're sick of them. They do not support the transitioning of children. Like, they're sick of them, right? I love Amir's channel because he has common sense, okay? He has common sense. And just his delivery cracks me up. But you know it has to be bad when the L, the G, and the B is sick of the T and the Q, I, A plus. They're over it. They're over it. And it's just like he said, they can't smoke, they can't drink, they can't drive, they can't vote, they can't get a tattoo. They can't consent to sex. And yet they can change their sex. This is an abomination. It is an abomination. All right, let me thank Night Call. Thank you so much. He said, can't always super chat, but always want to show my support for all the hard work you do. And thank you for having the tough conversations, because if any change is possible, it starts with conversations and discussions. Thank you. Thank you, Night Call. I appreciate you for the $20. Thank you so much. And then let me also shout out Stefan. Is it Stefan Moultrie, 2649 for the $5? He says, we're the silent generation and the greatest generation as LGBTQ as these millennials and Gen Zs. Okay. But you know it's bad when the L, the G, and the B don't want nothing to do with the T. Like, it's bad. And they are starting to speak out. They're starting to say, no, this is crazy. This is crazy. Like, this should be illegal. And as we read earlier, 25 states says yes. Yes. So half the country has their head on straight. And the other half of the country has its head up its behind. So Dr. L says, I wonder how many kids will grow up and hate their parents for allowing them to make such life-changing decisions. They wouldn't let them smoke or get a tattoo, but well, cut your breasts off. Yeah, it's there. I'm going to show a couple of videos of people who are suing. They're now suing. High Vibe says, I was somewhat of a tomboy. I'm grateful I was raised in the 70s and 80s because no telling if I was at Gen Z, how confused I would be. That's interesting you say that, High Vibe. So I too was also a tomboy, right? I was basically grew up around men. I had an older and a younger brother. I had a dad. My dad had 5, 6 brothers. My mom had 5 brothers. And I wanted to do what they did. I wanted to shoot. I wanted to fish. I wanted to ride motorbikes and skateboards. And I didn't even kiss a boy until I was 16 or even like a boy. The first boy I liked, I kissed for the first time. And I was like, oh, I must be straight. You know? But prior to that, it never even occurred to me, you know, that I would go any kind of way, you know, but I then discovered, okay, yeah, I must be straight. But that was at 16. They're telling us these kids are transitioning at 3 and 5 and 6 years old. That's crazy. He said Dave Chappelle was calling this years ago and they wanted him to stop. Yep. It's crazy. Yeah, It is really, really, really bad. I've always thought there's nothing wrong with a woman being a tomboy as long as they learn when to turn it on, off, or down when necessary, situation based. She said their brains aren't fully developed. No, we talked earlier about what is the age that you should be allowed to transition. I saw a lot of 25s in the chat. 25 years old, that's when, and look, that's when they claim that the prefrontal cortex is mature. And you're going to let a 6-year-old tell you, what their gender is. And yet you keep saying, 25 is when we mature. Thank you, Dr. L. I appreciate the $10 for the important work in fixing your PC. Thank you. Yeah, something's going on. I'm going to Best Buy tomorrow. Something is going on. We struggle streaming tonight. Then we don't know the effects of hormone therapy. Yeah, and there are a lot of people, I'm going to show y'all a video, a lot of people that are saying there are some awful effects. Okay, so does that mean a fight? Hold on a second. A fight challenge will soon occur with what the definition meaning of biological gender born. It could. Usually tomboy girls skip a boy crazy phase. Yeah, I really, really did. It was like 16. There was a boy in my school that was, tall, and I don't know, something about him was, handsome. And, we hung out after school. I got kissed for the first time, and I was like, oh, I think I like boys. like just like that, Thank you so much. 7 likes on YouTube. As Dr. O would say, hit the like button. Okay. So this whole 5 years old, like I didn't even know what I was until I was 16. And you 5 years old and you say, oh, I'm born a girl but want to be a boy, or I'm born a boy and want to be a girl. That's crazy. So yeah, it's bad, y'all. It's really, really bad. And it's sad that this is what it is.
That's a big reason why trans kids are on the rise, and why you do see some parents of trans kids being very vocal in protecting that, because it's making them a crap ton of money. Millions of followers grifting on that they have a trans child, constantly making content with the child, constantly just again pushing this ideology on them. And it's so weird to me because there's some things that we protect, and then there's something that we don't. Like, if I get word that my neighbor is abusing their child, locking them in the basement or beating them, the child can go to jail. Not the child, the parent can go to jail and get in trouble. But if I say, hey, this parent is like manipulating their child and like putting them down a path that's ultimately going to lead to, damn it. I don't understand how I'm even talking about this. I don't understand how I'm talking about this. I don't like making trans kids content. I make it because I want people to know that it's real. I want people to watch this content and be like, wait a minute, I kind of changed my opinion on that. I'm not really vibing with that, in order to protect the children. Because 9 times out of 10, the people that are against it have nothing really wrong with trans people. They may not like what they do, but they understand that it's a free country and they can do whatever they want to do. But when it comes to minors, like I've always said before, that's when it all changes.
Little nonsense is what I need.
After Eddie's first gender therapy appointment. Am I the only one that's dumbfounded by this? I can't be. The transitioning your kids, having them go through gender therapy appointments and reaffirm who they are. And this is going to be one of those things that we look back in 100 years and say that was completely wrong. Because at what point did we really start listening to children? This feels like mental gymnastics. I feel like I'm going crazy. I genuinely do. To try to unpack why some parents just think it's normal and okay to take what? Well, let's go back to this last video. Yeah, the kid was none but 3 or 4, and you're already were transitioning it. Like, to me, this is child abuse. Like, this is equivalent to beating your child. Because like I said before, it's leading them down a path to ultimately transition and to ultimately go through with these things. And it's life altering and life changing procedures, especially if you start younger with, double mastectomies and all the puberty blockers. But this goes down a very expensive and very dangerous route fast. Because even in that video, what we saw is them allowing the kid to be way more feminine, really encouraging it, buying them all these things, pushing it. And then now the kid is saying that kid came out as trans and now it's a she, and going to gender therapy appointments. Like, are we not going to listen to the people who have detransitioned? Are we not going to pay attention to the people who actually regret transitioning to begin with, especially as a child? Are we just going to ignore the amount of detransitioners and the amount of trans adults who talk about how much of a financial burden that this procedure is, and how lifelong prescription to medicines and pills and even like diseases that can come up and more medical crises? Like, no one's considering or thinking about that.
No one. And I do think it is a form of abuse. The reason why I'm bringing this up in this live tonight is because I need you all to understand this is a subculture. This is another subculture of how we allow abuse to happen right before our eyes to children. This is child abuse. This is abusive. This child will have all kinds of problems from the hormone therapy. Let me pull up this video of these young girls talking about all the horrible side effects of the surgery, the hormone therapy. Where is the video of the young women that are suing? They're now suing because of this. And you are creating a lifelong patient. This person will have to be on this hormone therapy forever. Forever. They will have to take these hormones forever. They'll have infections. They'll have all kinds of problems. The female to male is a little less, invasive, but it's the removing of the breasts, the removing of the uterus, sometimes the ovaries. So you're immediately put into menopause. It is trying to create some sort of fake phallus by stripping the skin off of your forearm and trying to create some sort of fake phallus. And don't get me started on the male to female. The male to female is a gruesome surgery. And it is basically living with an open wound down there. That's why they have to use these, they have to insert these things in their vagina, because it is an open wound. It will continue to try to close. It is not a vagina. It does not get wet. It is going to continue to try to close in on itself because it is just a wound that you have to use these spacers every single day for the rest of your life to keep it open. And all of the gymnastics with your urinary tract, your bladder. You got to get fake boobs put in. You got to have surgery on your voice and shaving down your Adam's apple. Then you got to have surgery on your face. And then y'all, this is costing people hundreds of thousands of dollars. And let's go here. I would love to have a vote on this. Do you want your tax dollars to go towards this type of thing? Are you all aware that there are people on Medicaid, that there are people on government assistance that are getting these surgeries? Do you want your tax dollars going toward this? Is this okay? All right, so if the only real pushback with this gender dysphoria is the baby boomers and millennials, does that mean the current next generation will be very accepting of it, like interracial relationships? That's a great question. I have no way to know. I'm never going to accept it. That's the point Night called to normalize it. Yeah, I agree. Because look at all the other things that we've normalized over the years. Now you can throw around the F word like it's nothing. You can say the F word in a business meeting and people don't even bat an eye. And that once upon a time, you never used profanity in professional settings. So yeah, maybe in 20, 30 years, you're right. Maybe it is seen as normal. Why aren't these consisting parents being psychiatrically evaluated? Consenting. Okay, there we go. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. Not close, heal. But yeah, do you want your tax dollars going toward this? Hi, good evening, Glorious Love. And what if this unnecessary surgery goes wrong? What if the child passes away? Yeah, that is a very possible. Yep, don't forget the prescriptions. Yeah, that's very possible. You wouldn't happen to know the stats, how other countries are dealing with this issue, gender dysphoria. I have to look that up. But, you know, it's a thing. It's a thing in other places. And there are countries that will perform the surgery. A lot of people leave the country for the surgery because it's cheaper. October says, let's not go down the rabbit hole of them implanting wombs in these people. Where do you think they're getting them from? Yeah, it's crazy. Tax dollars, it's regular insurance costs up because of this nonsense. But there are people on Medicaid that have had, I kid you not, I kid you not. I know this is going to sound crazy, but when I was working in community mental health, there were people on Medicaid that were on disability that were getting these surgeries. I kid y'all not. And the Angela Davis is advocating for prisoners to have access to gender procedures. Yeah, that's crazy. Is that tax component a federal or state thing? I believe through Medicaid, it's a state thing. Personally, no, but just imagine what other things our tax dollars are going to, and we don't even know. That's it. So I just want y'all to know what's happening out here. All right, let me see if I can find this video. Because, man, they do not want me to show y'all these videos. Yeah, it won't let me click play. That is wild. Let me see if I can pull it back up.
At the age of 12,
a week after I turned 14 years old, I was 16 years old.
they asked my parents a simple question. Would you rather have a dead daughter or a living transgender son?
I was told that if I didn't do this, I would probably end up dead.
She asked my parents if they would rather have a dead daughter or a living son.
I was fast-tracked onto puberty blockers and then testosterone.
They didn't tell me that taking cross-sex hormones and undergoing major surgery at 14 years old could leave me with pelvic floor dysfunction and urinary incontinence.
Cutting episodes worsened. No one told me that testosterone was the cause of the cysts on my ovaries.
I still struggle to this day with sexual dysfunction. And I have massive scars across my chest. And the skin grafts that they took of my nipples are weeping fluid today.
My nipples were grafted and reattached in the wrong spot, and now they are just decorative. I was unable to breastfeed my baby the milk that came in. It was the worst pain and heartbreak I have ever felt. I wanted to die.
At 16, after my surgery, I did become suicidal. I'm doing better now. But my parents almost got the dead daughter promised to them by my doctors.
I trusted the adults who were supposed to protect me. Instead, they sold me a dream that turned out to be a nightmare. It's not healthcare, it's blatant consumer fraud.
My doctors defrauded me. I am not alone.
I didn't need to be lied to. I needed compassion. I needed to be loved. I needed to be given therapy to help me work through my issues, not affirm to my delusion that by transforming into a boy, it would solve all my problems. My childhood was ruined, along with thousands of detransitioners that I know through our networks. This needs to stop.
Amen. Amen to that. And let me tell you, Chloe Cole that was talking. She has been very vocal in the detransitioning movement. Also, Jazz Jennings, she was, I don't know if you all remember her. She had a reality show with her family. She was touted as one of the youngest children to be trans. Let me find the video of her. And
it's a scene you'll encounter in any happy family home around the world.
Boys versus girls race. The race of a century. Go!
Brothers taking great delight in outdoing their sisters.
Okay, ready, set, go.
But in this family, there's a difference. The baby girl of the family, 8-year-old Jazz, was born a boy.
But first I thought, oh, how cute. You know, he wants to play with a doll. Who cares? You know, we're really open-minded. But when it continued on month after month and like became year after year and it became stronger, I knew, you know, this wasn't a phase. It's getting more intense.
Happy birthday. When Jazz's parents, Scott and Renee, had their 4th child, very early they were bewildered by the way their new son was behaving.
Such a good boy.
When a 2-year-old comes up to you and says, Mommy, when is the good fairy going to come with her magic wand and change my penis into a vagina? You're like, okay, this is not typical. This is not something a normal child would do.
Can you remember the first time you thought, I want to be a girl?
When I was 2. I would say I want to wear a dress. I'd always say I want to play with the Barbies. Barbie! Barbie!
Right from a very early age, you thought that's what you wanted to be?
Yeah.
She was quite adamant about what her belief was, that she was a girl. And initially, I know from my own perspective, I was in denial.
Just a little bit more than some lumps.
Mommy, I don't know where it is.
Despite their reservations, Scott and Renee have made the courageous decision to let their son live as a girl.
And we're going to move this.
It was difficult for us, but at the same time, we knew that that was the right thing for our child, whether society was going to accept it or not.
You've got a beautiful dress on. Did you select this?
It was with me and my mom.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, oh, how about you wear that dress?
But that's a nice dress.
Thank you.
So you love dressing up, clearly.
Yes.
And you love earrings.
Yeah.
Hearts, beautiful.
Yeah, with all pink dots in it.
Jazz is what's known as a transgender child. In her case, born a boy with normal male genitals, but an unmistakably female brain.
Do you know that you're a special girl?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because I have a girl brain and a boy body.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel fine. Like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like a normal life to me, pretty much. Because if people are, like, making fun of you, just walk away and be friends with people that are nice to you and appreciate you.
Okay.
So that family was, they had a reality show for many years. Jazz Jennings, you can look her up, and she went through a lot of different problems, from the puberty blockers. Then she tried to have the sex change surgery. That went very wrong, because they found out that because she had been on the puberty blocker since she was 11, when she went to try to have the surgery, I think at like 17 or 18, they didn't have enough like skin on the penis to turn it into a vagina. They had to graft skin from her stomach. I mean, the surgery was completely botched. And at one point, she wound up gaining 100 pounds. She was incredibly depressed. She was incredibly anxious. And so once again, you know, the gender affirming surgery and the gender affirming, the hormones and all, and the dressing and all of that is supposed to make them feel better. It's supposed to make everything okay, right? It's supposed to make everything better. Now I'm good. That girl was on the brink of suicide at one point. She had gained all this weight. She got diagnosed with bulimia. And so again, I thought the gender affirming care was supposed to help, but it's not. And she did admit there were times when she was doing her individual like video journal, she did admit that she didn't feel right. She didn't feel right. She didn't feel like herself. And she was pushed into the spotlight by her parents as like the transgender poster child. And so at that point, there was no going back. There was no going back. She had her penis cut off. She had, this surgery done. There's no going back. And that is what is incredibly frustrating about all of this. So think about it. It is permanent. It is irreversible. And there could be damage from the hormones that you put in your body. And then, can we be honest? We're going to be honest tonight. There is no sexual function. There are so many transgender people that have lied. They have lied to y'all's face. I remember one male to female transitioner said, oh, I have orgasms out of this world, and oh, sex is so great now. That is a lie, because your sex organs are gone. You can't have an orgasm because you have no penis, you have no scrotum, you have no, what are you talking about? Like, these people are lying right to our faces. Oh, sex is so great. Oh, I love, having sex as a woman now. My orgasms are so amazing. You don't have any orgasms because you have no more sex organs. But they really are selling this. Dr. L says, Mommy, when am I going to grow dragon wings and fly like Captain Marvel? Yeah, that is how ludicrous it is. You're letting a 2 and a 3 and a 4-year-old. They're the parent, not you. And this is what I keep telling parents, even in my practice. They keep saying things like, oh, but if I do this, or if I say they're not that, or if I steer them away, what if something bad happens? Everybody's so worried about, oh, they're going to kill themselves, or what if something bad happens? No, there is a gentle, loving way to say, no, we are not doing that. No, I am the parent that God gave you. I believe that at 30, I have 30 years more experience than you. That, if you still feel this way, and how about this? This is what I tell a lot of parents in my practice. Tell your child, if you still feel this way at 18, have at it. Have at it. That's what you say. That's what you say. If you still feel this way at 18, hey, okay, you don't have to deny what they believe is true. You don't have to. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I would, but you don't even have to do that. You can say, when you're 18, if you still feel this way, then okay, you'll be an adult. You can go ahead and do what you need to do. But the thought of you listening to a 2, she says she's lying. Ain't no 2-year-old articulate that. I agree, but it's like this propaganda that they want people to believe that this is happening. It's not happening, y'all. So we just let children say how they feel without redirection. Exactly. But it's just sad to me that parents are afraid to be parents. They're afraid to guide and direct their children. Men being raised to be weak, no rites of passage. It causes men who do not defend themselves, their women, or their children from danger. How can a dad do this to his son? I was asking myself the same thing. There are videos in here of men doing this. It's mainly women. It's mainly women that do it, but there are some couples where the man is co-signing this. And I'm just like, oh my Lord, how did we get here? Yeah. Again, I need an explanation as to why are adults allowing this craziness. I need that explained to me. I mean, we just live in a sick, fallen world. Now, if a man was talking about a female brain, he would be canceled and fired. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, once we started creating an ecosystem where emotions are so validated that you can't say if what a person's feeling is right or wrong, correct or incorrect, I can only imagine. But that's what we're living in. We're living in a time where facts, do not trump feelings. Yeah. The long-term consequences of said standards. Yeah. I know, but to not have the option would be awful. Yeah, it's pretty bad, but there is no making sense of this. So if a child 16 years old changes gender, 20 years later, the adult now wants to sue the doctor, they can sue. And do they sue the parents as well for allowing it? Yeah, that part, I don't know. They are mutilated. Yep. It's a form of child abuse. You are mutilating your minor child. That's exactly what I think it is. Exactly. It's all connected. When I was 12, I wanted a Jerry curl. I'm glad my mother told me no. I just, like I said, it's just funny to me that the parents are afraid to just say no, or if you want to do it at 18. I wish my dad was a bit more gentle and loving, but looking back, I'm glad he wasn't. He was my dad and acted like it. Yep. Yeah, 18 and out of my house. There you go. My parents would have sent me straight to therapy. Yeah, some of these guys I think are suspect. All right, I want to close off with this video right here. This actually matches my sentiment completely. This is exactly how I feel about this. I got many more videos. I can go on and on talking about this. But this describes exactly what I believe is happening.
Found it so noxious that there were psychologists and people in the medical community pushing trans ideology. Someone has anorexia, we don't say, yes, you are fat at 80 pounds. Here's some weight loss pills, and also think about getting liposuction. We would never do that. That would be medically negligent. When someone has body dysmorphia and they say, I think my nose is 10 inches too big, we don't say, you are right, you should chop it off. Why is transgenderism the only one that we have to affirm the faulty thinking? In every other mental illness that presents, we disabuse people of the faulty thinking and we ground them in reality. And that is what motivated me to say, you know what? We need to take an approach with gender ideology, just like we take with anorexia, just like we take with body dysmorphia and schizophrenia and any other faulty thinking, depression. My life is worthless. We say, no, it's not. Your life is worth living. And so when a man says, I am a woman, the person's job is to say, no, you are not. You have some faulty thinking. Let's get to the core of this. I found it so
That's it. There's some faulty thinking. Like any other mental illness, we are not going into the world of the mentally ill person. We are not doing that. We are saying, hey, this isn't real. Okay? This isn't a reality. This isn't a biological reality. You are a male. Maybe you're a gay male. You are a female. Maybe you're a lesbian female. But to mutilate your body permanently, to destroy functions in your body irreversibly, that we're becoming as sick as them. That is my problem. You are entering into the sick person's world. You're meeting them in their dysfunctional state. And I refuse to do that. I'm not doing that. I am in my right mind. I'm in my right mind as a parent. And I know what is fact and what is not. And I am willing to say that. I'm willing to die on this hill, and especially for children. If you are 18 and over, I'm going to make my position clear. I'm not going to support it because it's not of God, but I'm also not going to stop you or refute it, or, you're a grown adult. There are a lot of things adults do that I don't agree with, but you're an adult. But the part where you're going to hear my mouth is when there are children involved. That's when it's despicable and disgusting. It is an abomination. It is a form of child abuse, and it should be outlawed. It should be illegal to transition anyone before the age of 18. Okay? If you want to participate in this collective psychosis with these people, okay, do it as an adult. Night Call says, I don't think the father had a lot of choices but to go along with this if the wife mother is feeling this. He's a weak man. He's a punk. Okay? Any man in his right mind, Dr. L said, no way I would let them cut off my son's penis or my daughter's clitoris. No freaking way. That's right. Freaking madness. Okay? I can say that with authority. Any man worth his salt is not going to let this happen. Remember the first video where the guy, took it all the way to Texas, got it outlawed? That's a man. I'm not going to let this woman turn my son into a girl. That's a man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Wrong Way. He's a great post tonight. Do you think gender dysphoria, increased support, will impact and affect the numbers of the BF of a single mother touching a child? I'm not sure I follow. Can you reword it? When they dig you up 100 years later, they'll be able to tell you are XX or XY. Exactly. I will not fuel the madness. That's not going to happen. I just won't. But legally in our world, it's 18. I agree with a lot of you all, 22, 25, 21. But it should be illegal to transition a minor child. It should be illegal. It's a form of child abuse. And it's one of the subcultures. We have talked about many. We've talked about many subcultures over the few weeks that I have been doing this. We've talked about all of the ways that we are destroying the innocence of children. This is what we do now. This is, what do they say? There's a baby sacrifice. Like, you got some people online, and I mean, they get really wild with it, that we are sacrificing children, baby sacrifices, drinking children's blood. I mean, you got some wild stuff online. I wouldn't go that far, but I will say we are definitely in a period of time that is very dark. Very dark. We allow the most ridiculous things to go on. And to children, like, that's where I have to put my foot down. They cannot change your chromosomes. Correct. 18, the person's hormones just settled down. 19, 20, 21 to 22 years is enough time for a young person to learn and understand their emotions. Like I said, it just definitely shouldn't happen under 18. It should not. Your last video, when you talked about single mothers, boyfriends touching the child sexually, do you think said behavior will lessen or increase since so many mothers are supporting gender dysphoria today? It could. It could. It very well could. But women are not okay. Like, gentlemen, I'm just letting y'all know, it's a sad state of affairs. Women are not okay right now. You're talking about a 5% of women right now in the West that are normal, right now that have their head on straight, right now that are not following along with a lot of this ideology, this woke propaganda, this feminist narrative. 5%. Like, the number is dwindling. It's really, really sad. This thing is like a virus that catches hold of people. And because people nowadays, they want to belong, they want to fit in, they don't want to stick out, they don't want to say anything to offend people. I'm just cut different. I'm from a different generation. I'm just built different. I'm going to run my mouth. I'm going to say stuff that offends people. I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to try to say it in love, but I'm not going to lie. There are times where some of these topics get me fired up, and I just be saying stuff. But it's the truth. It's from my heart. It's because of my love for children. I got to hold a baby for the first time in like 6 years last week. I went to a documentary for mothers, and I got to hold a 9-month-old baby. And I mean, like, my heart is just bursting out of my chest, because I just am in wonder. I'm in awe of the miracle that is a baby. Oh my gosh. I just love the baby phase, y'all. So from 0 to 12 months, I love that phase. That phase of a baby's life is just perfect to me. I can't imagine a person harming a baby. That's crazy. Child sacrifices at an all-time high. Yep, I've heard the stuff. Thank you, Night Call, for the $2. Great show and conversation as always. Yeah, it's just getting crazy. Laugh my butt off. Men have been saying that for 50 years and been told we're toxic for saying that. No, it's women are not okay. Women are not okay. Right? And I just, my heart is going out to y'all. I don't know what you're going to do. I really don't, because other than having sex with them, I don't know if they're good for much else. Like I don't know. And even having sex with them, you have to be careful, because don't get one of these women pregnant. Don't get one of these women pregnant. There's a chance that they could murder your baby in the womb. There's a chance that they could, transition your child. They could murder your child outside of the womb. These women are not okay. They're going through something. Right. At what point does the delusion become reality? Yeah, it's slowly. They're not good. They're not good. So, you know what I'm encouraging? And then I'm gonna end on this note. I am encouraging men to get vasectomies. Get a vasectomy, gentlemen. That's the thing that is going to ensure that all that will happen between you and her is sexual pleasure. That's it. Get a vasectomy. Okay? Because running the risk of getting one of these crazy women pregnant, like that has the ability to ruin your entire life. And if I was a man, I'm telling y'all the truth, because I did it. I did it as a woman. When I was done having my 3 children, I went and had my tubes tied. I was like, I'm good. I knew that was the one way that I could now take my power back. Okay, I don't need to have a oops or, be put in a situation where now I got to make a bad decision. No, to me, abortion is preventable. I keep telling people that, and they keep fighting me on it. Abortion is preventable. I went and had my tubes tied. Prior to that, I used birth control. But gentlemen, I'm serious. Y'all need to get vasectomies, because I know y'all need sexual pleasure, right? That's not going anywhere. Divorce and take half yourself. Yeah, I know that's not going anywhere, but now you're going to have to up that ante. You're going to have to make sure that you can't make any more babies. You have women putting stuff in their butts, wearing other people's hair, and wearing 4-inch eyelashes as a state of delusion. Yeah. He said she's right. Best decision I ever made. Yeah. See, it ensures that you will not have unnecessary foolishness. Okay. Get that vasectomy. I'm just saying. Y'all playing with your life, and the power of the state needs to be checked. But you know what? The men are going to have to rally. The men are going to have to take back their power. They're going to have to rally on the state, in the federal, the legislation. They're going to have to start they're going to have to start doing what women do. Can I be honest? Men are going to have to start doing what women do. When they, like these women showing up at the courthouse, you see all them women showing up at the courthouse supporting Lindsey Clancy, men going to have to start doing that. Y'all going to have to start some movements. You're going to have to start doing something to make some real change. Okay? But if you're just sitting around griping about it online, they're not doing nothing. But what about society and raising right-minded kids to further our morals? Man, like I said, if you got kids, of course you should raise them right. I raised mine right. But for a lot of people, it's like game over. It's like game over. I had a friend, and I've told this story before, where when he was 21, he went and he gave a bunch of samples of his semen and he froze it. He froze it. And in his mind, okay, if I ever want to have a child, and as soon as he did that, he went and had a vasectomy. And he said, let's see how the next 10 or 15 years go. If I want to have a child, then, I have it, I can utilize it and, get someone pregnant. But if I don't, then I'm good. But guess what? He hasn't had any accidental pregnancies. That's called taking your power back. Nightcall said, it took my procedure 45 minutes. I missed 4 days of work, PTO, and just used cold peas and aspirin for the discomfort. Best decision I ever made. Yeah, we got to start talking about that. We got to start talking about that. Pzionic, I hope I pronounced that right. Pro-life. I'm pro-life, but I'm also pro-prevention. See, that's the difference. I'm pro-prevention. I believe abortion is 100% preventable. So I've given up. So you've given up. I wouldn't say I have given up, but like I said, I want you to mitigate the risk. I will never give up because I'm always going to want to do things the way God has instructed me to do them, but I need you to mitigate the risk. And right now, the risk is high. I know how you feel about freezing eggs, but your thoughts about a man freezing his sperm and getting a vasectomy, that's what my friend did. That's what my friend did. He's 50 now, and he's never had any kids. And as far as I know, he still has that semen on ice. So that's what he did. Okay. And he has had no mistakes, no oops babies. So in some regards, he's ahead of his time. I remember thinking that like 15 years ago. I remember thinking, man, this dude is ahead of his time. That's pretty wild. I believe in families and want that to be the future. Same. I'm with you. But we also have to mitigate the risk. We have to keep our eyes open. We have to see what's out here. And right now is the worst time in history to be single. Can I also say this? This is the worst time in history to have children. This world is mad. You're trying to bring up innocent children in this madness between the trans and the gay and the predators, right? The over-sexualization, the social media, the propaganda at school. Like, this is one of the worst times in history to raise little kids. We have lost our ability to cherish innocent children. People curse around children. People fight around children. People let children watch R-rated movies. I had to get on my clients about that. Have a 7-year-old watching an R-rated movie. I said, what are you doing? Like, well, I mean, it's funny. No, that movie, it says right in the thing, R-rated, not for children under 18. It says right in the description. I think it's funny. So this is where we are. And that's just, it just is. I wish it wasn't that way, but I can't say that it's not. If you ever want a person to walk through, talk about getting a vasectomy, you're welcome to ask me questions, or I can come on live to talk about it. I sure will. Maybe I will have a live about that because we need to talk about it. That's why people don't want to have children. I agree. Nothing's perfect. Even today's problems must be experienced to find a way. It is horrible for children. It really is. Like, some of the stuff I see, I'm like, good Lord, thank you, Lord, for letting my kids be grown. Because I would have hurt, I'm not going to lie to y'all, I would be in somebody's jail. I would hurt somebody. The stuff that's going on right now, oh, Lord. Yeah, that's the childish response. Well, it's funny. No, they were having their 7-year-old watch an R-rated movie, and I said something. And after that, I think they were like, okay, we just ain't going to tell Anita no more. Like, because I was like, why do you have your 7-year-old watching this? Lord, fear is not the way forward. Boldness with optimism and a godly path is the way. I agree with you. Okay, so we have to mitigate the risk, though. We cannot be blind to what's happening. We can't. We have to see it and we have to face it full on. But right now, people are not as nurturing, as loving as they used to be. Women don't have that just maternal instinct. It's so weird to me because that's just like how I've always been, right? I've been like that when I get a new puppy, when I get a new kitten, when I have a baby, So I can't relate. I can't relate to what's happening. Women, abusing their children or letting men abuse their children. Like, that's so wild to me. But this is what is happening. So just understand it's a very different time. Yeah, it's a very different time. All right, but I just want to talk about this. We have to talk about these subcultures. There are many subcultures, and all of these subcultures are ways in which we do not prioritize the safety and needs of children. We do not protect children. We do not allow children to just be children. We do not let them have a childhood, right? Where they're not hearing a bunch of adults cursing. They're not watching R-rated movies. They're not drinking at 6 or 7. They're not smoking. They're not smelling marijuana at 7 or 8 years old. I had a client, was it last year, where he and his wife had a new baby and they came in and I could smell marijuana on his clothes. And I said, hey man, you are going to have to, cut that out. You have a new baby and you're holding the baby. You're holding it against your chest. You're holding it up on your shoulder. The baby is smelling that marijuana. That marijuana is getting into your child's skin and getting into their lungs from your clothes. Like, you have got to cut that out. And it just blows my mind that people will smoke and get high and then come in the house and pick up their 1-month-old. That blows my mind. And it's just wild to me that I have to say something to another adult about that. That's just wild to me. That makes no sense to me at all. I don't get it. But this is the world that we're living in. Okay? This is really, really crazy. Whew. So we got one more. We got one more subculture that we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to be done with this topic. I'm ready to move on. I would love to do a live stream about what's her name? Kendra G. So she has Dating Download. I would love to do a live about her show on OWN. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show any of the clips, but I can snip the audio. I can snip the audio and possibly talk a little bit about Kendra G's Dating Download show. So there have been some interesting characters on that show thus far. And it would be interesting to kind of talk about some of the dynamics that I'm seeing on that show. Okay. But yeah, we got one more though next week, and then I'm done with this. Okay. But these are all things that I feel like people need to know. You need to be made aware of. A lot of people, especially if you're, a Gen Xer, your kids are grown, so you're just not aware of what's really going on out here. But I think it's time that people understand that we don't see childhood as something to be cherished anymore. We don't see children, minor children. We don't see that as precious. And that's problematic. And then that is our future. So all of these kids out here looking at R-rated movies, drinking, smoking, being touched and all this, that's the future. That's our future. That's why I care about it. No, I don't have children in elementary school or middle school or high school, but those kids are going to be a part of my future one day. So yes, I still care about that. We got to care about that. So yeah. Lord, have a great night, y'all. I appreciate you. Thank you for rocking with me. I'm struggle streaming over here. But first thing in the morning, I'm headed to Best Buy. I'm taking my computer. I'm making a list of all the problems that I'm having with it. but I don't know what happened. I thought I left it as is, and I come back and everything is different on it. So I'm not sure what happened. But I will be here next Sunday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will do one more subculture. We're going to talk about people who are preying on children sexually. A lot of those people happen to be women. That's the new sexual predator, is the teacher or the police officer. It is the female coach. It is the female jailer. And like, women are trying to compete with men when it comes to being sexual predators now. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to flip the script a little, because we've long talked about male sexual predators. We need to start talking about female sexual predators. That's a whole thing. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone who contributed to tonight's show, everyone who bought a super sticker or super chat. Thank you so much to Night Call, Stefan Moultrie, Dr. L. Appreciate you. Night Call again. Thank you so much, y'all. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of the night. And as always, stay open to love.